Hello, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the first webinar, Community Connect webinar by Teacher Horizons. And I say first as in first for this academic year. And it's a really special one, and I'll share with you in a minute why that is. So this webinar is going to be about stepping into international education, a beginner's guide. And we can see that there's a lot of great response for this particular topic. And I'm really glad to share that we have over 150 people joining us today. So something important to mention is logistics before we even get right into it, is especially because we have these many people this time. Before, we've usually had a smaller group. And we kind of considered even doing this a webinar format, but we know that our community loves the breakout rooms and we didn't want to take that away from you. So with this large group, please keep yourselves on mute so we don't have any sound disturbances. And for the breakout rooms, at least, if not before, keep your cameras on as well so people can see who you are, so you're able to connect properly with your colleagues. So we are going to start now. And before we start and dive into the presentation and our panelists and our keynote speaker, we like to ask our community members and attendees one question that they can start writing in chat, so we can get to know you a little bit, get people thinking a little bit, and get in the mindset of the webinar. So the question for today to share in chat is, what excites you most about teaching internationally? What excites you most about teaching internationally? Please start typing your answer in chat so we can have a look at that.
Holly, I can't keep up with letting these people in. It's just too many.
It's okay. I'm doing it too. Yeah, it's a lot of people, which is fantastic. And thank you. Thanks for helping out. Thanks. I realize I didn't introduce myself. My name is Kavi Singh, and I'm the Director of Community Growth here at Teacher Horizons. And it's a pleasure today to facilitate and host this webinar. So what excites you most about teaching internationally? I think we have lots of people already sharing on chat. It's also coming very fast.
Learning with a diverse group of students, parents and colleagues from around the world, a variety of students, different cultures, new cultures and different experiences, broadening the mind, different approaches to teaching, multilingualism, lots of things. There we go. Proving that South Africa's education is good. Good for you, South Africa. Oh, I like this one, stretching my teaching skills. That's a good one.
Moving mountains of knowledge internationally. Good evening to you as well. I'm just going to ask everyone to please mute yourselves at this point. You will have an opportunity to interact later on. Thank you. New culture experiences, traveling the world. Wow, this is fantastic. Sharing my expertise and culture with other people. Great. I love all of these motivations. We all have our whys, and a lot of these whys sound fantastic. So thank you for sharing your thoughts. I think we need to dive in and move forward now. And we're going to move on to our keynote speaker and our main presentation for today. And it is going to be presented by Kirsten. She will introduce herself properly, but I did want to share how I came to know about her. So I joined this Facebook group that used to be called Teaching on the Move Internationally. And I felt that it was one of the most active groups, and I found really good advice there. And I noticed that some of the admins were really involved and engaged and prompting the community a lot. And I noticed one of them, of course, was Kristen, doing that a lot. So I was really inspired by that, especially how she gives back to the community with a lot of advice, with a lot of coaching and helping people, navigate their way in the international education world. And then I was working full time. Well, that was when I was part time with Teacher Horizons. When I became full time with Teacher Horizons, I was working with partnerships, community growth, marketing. And I just felt like we had to connect, we had to reach out. And then we decided that it'll be great to partner, because we at Teacher Horizons do a lot of community initiatives similar to what Kristen does. And she has such a lot of experience with community engagement and, of course, in international education in different roles. But I will let her introduce herself and also take away from here with the presentation. Kristen.
Thank you, Kavi, and thank you to you and also to Alex for the opportunity. So I'm now just going to, just pause and share my screen. It's so lovely. I'm so excited to see so many people here on the call today. Sorry, I minimized for a second there and I just lost the little screen sharing button. So I'm hoping that everyone can now see the screen. So yeah, so I'm Kirsten. I'm from Scotland. I say born in Scotland, raised around the world. My parents migrated to Kenya when I was 2.5 years old. So I started school in a prefabricated hut on the shores of the Kindaruma Water Reserve because my dad was building the Kindaruma and Kimburu Dam. So if there's anyone here from Kenya, Jambo, Habari, I have a little bit wonderful memories of Kenya. So when I was doing my studies at university, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew that I wanted to keep traveling and see the world. So post-university, after I traveled and saw the world a little, I had came up with two choices. One was the Foreign Service and one was teaching. And I decided to go into teaching. At that time, it was very, very unusual. Talking about 1990 something. And it was very unusual. And most people going into international education then were sort of flicking through the newspaper in the staff room thinking, oh, Thailand, oh, China, oh, we could go there. But me, I wanted to go internationally. And my dream job was Tanzania. I've still never gotten there. So that's a little tip for you. Like, don't have your dream job. Just have, you want to have experiences because you may never get that dream job. So here I am, many years later. I left the UK in 1996. So I am nearly 30 years international. And here I am speaking to you, all these people across the world who are excited about going into international education. So I thought let's start with talking about what makes a successful international school educator. And I talked to a lot of people about this. And I said, I'm going to have a chat with people across the world. What do you think? And do you know what? Every single person I spoke to who's been out here, their number one word was resilient. And I think it's really important. It's really important. I've had a lot of weird and wonderful experiences. I know people who've had way, way worse. Natasha, who's on the call with us, Natasha and I worked together in the Sudan. We know people who had to leave the country because of war. We know people who are still left behind. We don't know what's happened to them because of war. Now, that's a very, very extreme example, but you do need to be resilient. My very first international school experience was like, I'm going to Colombia. I arrived, my classroom wasn't built yet. Okay, let me just say that again. My classroom wasn't built yet. I, as a 3-year-old teacher, did not get into my classroom until the day before school started. Okay, you need to be resilient and adaptable. You don't know, you can be told anything and anything can happen. Okay, it's very important. Here's some other qualities. So I just want to check that we've got all the right people on the call, that this is you, that you are all of these things. And give me a, yep, that's me in the chat. And add anything else that you think you need to have to be an international school educator. And let's just see what people come up with. Absolutely. We need to be flexible. We need to have a flexible mindset. We don't know what we're going to go to. We have to adapt. Sometimes we might be told we're going to teach year 8 and we get there and they say, sorry, you have to teach year 6. Well, you're there now. What are you going to do? Always have a plan B, Natasha. I just said that. I have actually, what's my plan B and what's my backup? Okay, so that's great. So lots of open-minded, lots of openness. Very, very true. Team spirit is very important. So thank you for your contributions. So a few things that I want you to think about. For those of you who are new, who are thinking about, I haven't been overseas before, and I would like to go overseas. I'm getting somebody chatting. I don't know quite who it is. I love that, Marie. Definitely you are. Definitely you are. With a 5-month-old baby and a new mum, she's resilient and adaptable. But I want you to think about some things because people, you can jump on a bandwagon. And there's a lot of blogging around at the moment that says, oh, come to international schools. It's the best thing you'll ever do. It's a lovely lifestyle. You'll make lots of money. Well, that's not necessarily true. If you come from a system where you have a really good retirement plan, you need to think about that. You need to consider your lifestyle and spending habits. I know people who went to Hong Kong and they were on, I don't know, 100 and something $1,000 a year and they left with nothing. I know people who went to Bangkok and they were on 1,500 a month and they left with 50% of savings. So a lot of what you make out of it will depend on you, but it's really important for you to focus on what are my long-term goals. It's not a holiday. It's not like I'm going out and just going for a year. I'm going for a couple of years. It's a lifetime. This is a career opportunity. So what are your long-term goals for your career, for yourself, for your family? And let me just say, ladies, if you're thinking about marriage and you're not already married, pick where you go very carefully. Okay, I'm just going to say that. Pick where, if you want to know more about that, feel free to connect with me on social media. Okay, so there's lots of things to consider. Okay, your own children's education. It's really important. What's the quality of education they're going to get and what's going to happen when they need third level is a massive conversation right now. People saving for their children, trying to get their children into countries where they can get third level education. So there's a lot of things to do. You need to think a little bit long term as well. So not to scare you, but just some things for you to think about. But it is wonderful, okay? It's really wonderful. So I, as a beginner teacher, said I just wanted to travel the world and learn from other cultures. And I had all these amazing experiences. I really wanted to go to Africa, but I ended up in South America and I had an absolute blast. And I learned Spanish and I learned salsa. And I learned that I didn't really like schools that didn't have a curriculum. So I moved on. And this time I went to Africa where I met the most interesting people. I went to Uganda, I met the most fascinating people. I've made friends that I still got in my life to today, both African friends and expatriate friends from way outside the school community. And I learned that I did not like the English national curriculum. So I moved on and I moved to Istanbul, completely different cultural experience. I learned to belly dance. I learned a tiny little bit of Turkish and I met the IBPYP, which to me was the closest thing to my home training in Scotland and was very, very inclusive and very, very open. And I really enjoyed it. So then I decided I was going to build my career in IBPYP. So my tastes changed and I stopped thinking about where I wanted to go to, but what kind of school I wanted to go. And this is what happens, this is how you evolve. But nowadays it's very, very important, and we'll discuss this a little bit later, is what kind of school you're going to go to. Once I entered the IB system, I found these amazing opportunities for professional growth. Okay, now I'm an IB consultant, I'm an IB workshop leader, I'm an IB school visitor. I've also done concept-based curriculum and instruction training. I'm a cognitive coach. I not only have learned from so many educators in the schools that I've worked with, but also from amazing PD opportunities from global experts. So many opportunities that I've had, and I really would not be at all the same person, never mind the same educator, if I would have stayed in Scotland. So that's something to think about. There's also the vast number of types of schools you can join. This is the Green School in Bali. It's a very extreme example. I've worked from everything in a tiny little community school to a massive, massive school in Asia where there was, I think, 8 classes at each grade level. A school within a school. Every school, every grade level was a little school in its own right. So thinking about those different kinds of schools, how they approach learning, where you might be more suited. For me, it's a 2-stream community school. I don't like those big schools. I don't care how much they pay me. I don't want to work there. But for other people, that's their sweet spot. They're there, they're delivering, they're getting all the amazing professional opportunities. That's where they want to be. For other people, it's something else again. So you just need to be aware of the options, and we'll look a bit more into that. So now I know Cubby asked you this, but he stole my question. He was really naughty. He stole my question. So this is what I was going to ask you, but you've already answered. So, but this is the sort of opportunity that you might get in an international school. Beyond the school, you have this amazing diverse community and you end up doing things that you would never have thought of doing. Okay, since I've been international, I've flown a plane, I've learned to dive, I'm a qualified certified skipper, I'm a yin yoga teacher, I'm all sorts of things because these opportunities come up that might never have come up. And I also puedo hablar en español y je peux parler français, which is all what I learned out here in the world. haven't mastered Thai yet. So, little bit about types of schools. Some of you may know a little bit about this, but it's kind of important to be aware of, okay? Because you'll all be coming from different countries, from different cultures. It can be a little bit overwhelming. All right. So, and the thing is, I've got some lists up here. Don't worry about taking screenshots or making notes. I will send this to Kavi and he will send it on to you, and you can have whatever's on here. You're welcome to have it. It's really important to understand that these schools are kind of different. So you can have an American international school that is the American International School of Bombay. Okay, this is a traditional school. It's been there for many years. It's well established. It was founded by a parent body. It's run by a board. You can also have GEMS American Academy. That's a brand school that's owned by GEMS as a company, but it follows the American curriculum. So you get blends, okay? You can get an IB school that labels itself the British International School of whatever. I'm Scottish. I don't buy into all this British thing. They're actually English schools, but never mind. And then you get sort of more community type schools, which are often smaller and a little bit more chilled out. And you get bilingual schools, and that can differ from country to country. I worked in a bilingual school in Colombia, and it was wonderful. But I have known people to work in bilingual schools in China, and they say it's very, very difficult because they have a very restricted curriculum they have to follow. So just being aware of these different kinds of schools will empower you later on to ask questions. Natasha's absolutely right. She's saying do your research and reach out. Reach out, and I will talk a little bit more about how you can do that later. So within all,
Kristen,
yes.
sorry to interrupt you, but someone wrote on chat there's a pop-up in the corner. Would it be possible to remove it because it's blocking something?
Oh, I don't know where that came from. Just popped up. Thank you for
Thank you.
noticing. I did not notice that. Yeah, so you have, of course, different kinds of curriculum, and you will see this, and some people say it's gatekeeping, that you have to have experience of this program or that program or the next program. It's not necessarily gatekeeping. I will come later to government regulations. Sometimes it's very difficult for schools to get people in. When I went to work in a school in India, I had to write an essay about all of my experience and qualifications and background to justify why I was getting this job of instructional coach over and above an Indian educator. So sometimes the schools have to say this. Sometimes it's about their brand and what they're selling to parents. So it's just easier if you're calling yourself a British National Curriculum school to say your teachers come with British National Curriculum experience, and then you don't have to train them. Okay, so you will see these, and that can mean that for certain people it's a little bit harder. Does that mean if you're American you can never work in a British school, or you're Kenyan you can never go and work in an Australian school? It doesn't mean that. But as a generalization, schools will look to see what experience you have, to see if it's comparable, because they don't want to have to invest in initial teacher training. It's too much hard work. Okay, it's true. What Natasha's saying is true. Having said that, I'm British and I ended up as an instructional coach at an American school, but I'd never applied for that job. And if I would have, I probably would have failed the HR SIFT. I met a person at a conference. We got on really well. She worked in the curriculum office. We had very similar ways of thinking. She said, I think you should apply to our school. So I did. And I got an interview. Okay, so networking, going to events, meeting people, talking to people, talking about what you do, talking about what you're passionate about, sharing. Now we have social media. I'm a commenter. Why do people know me? Because I comment on other people's posts. They ask questions, I answer them. They put up problems. I say, look here, look there. So people know who I am. They're like, oh, she's a problem solver. So that attracts people towards me. So think about what you're showing as well beyond what you know. Yes, you can. If you're a French or Spanish teacher, absolutely you can, because as long as you're a qualified French or Spanish teacher, many countries, China's one of them, prefer the teachers to be first language speakers. So that's a limitation. Not in every country, but in some countries, they're like, if you're bringing in a language, they have to be first language teachers. So therefore, if you are a Spanish native speaker, you have more chance of being employed in those countries. Okay, right? So if you're from South Africa, it's up to you to show what you can do, and that can mean a bit of research. So we'll talk a little bit more about that when we come up to the application point, but it's like, it's knowing what these systems are about. So a lot of people say to me, hey, we want to join the IB, but we can't get an experience. And I say, well, look, I've known lots of people who've joined the IB, including me, with no experience, because what we did our research, we figured out what it was that we needed to show. Okay, so you need to be, as Natasha said, a researcher. So I'm just going to pop on here as well a link. If you're interested later, just grab that link and you can fill it out later. It's just a little form. And in my group, we're going to be running some more sessions, and we'll be running one on how to join the IB and what people look for in an IB teacher. So I'm not going to answer that, David. You can join my next session for that one. Okay. Well, I wouldn't say most international schools exclude South Africans. I live in Phuket. There are a lot of South African teachers in Thailand. South African teachers are actually quite well sought after in many, many areas of the world. They're known to be well trained. They're known to be open-minded. They're known to be very hardworking, and they're known not to be expensive. So I think a lot of it is, if you want to be successful in an international environment, it's a lot about how are you presenting yourself. Okay, so a lot of people are always asking, how can I, how can I, how can I? There's a lot more information out there than when I started. If you are interested in teaching in British National Curriculum, go to the government website and find out what it's all about, and then show that you can do that because you've done very similar things. Okay, that's the way to do it. I can't speak about assistant teachers because I really don't know about assistant teachers. I'm not about that sort of thing. What international certificate? If you're a qualified teacher, if you have a bachelor's in education or a bachelor's in science and education or a bachelor's in science plus a postgraduate diploma in education, you're a qualified teacher. You don't need an international certificate. You need to be a qualified teacher. Okay, that's it. There you go. Look what Natasha
Yeah,
said.
Kristen.
I
Thank
need
you,
to move
Kristen.
on. I know. I need to move on.
Yeah,
Move
I
on.
was just going to say we'll have chance for more questions during the panel
Yeah.
discussion too.
Okay.
So
So
thank
this
you.
is just an idea to give you the idea of brands, okay, and how big the brands are. They're huge, okay? So just be very aware when you're looking at schools, do they belong to a brand, and then research the brand a bit, okay? Just look behind the brand a little bit. That's all I'm going to say. And then the other thing, just to be aware of, I think somebody mentioned in the chat, there are government restrictions and regulations, and it's worth asking about these because there's no point in leading to disappointment, okay? Some governments will regulate for age. There's no point in getting angry about it and saying it's not fair, it's their regulation, okay? For me to go to teach in Turkey, they said I had the wrong teaching qualification. My school really wanted to hire me, so that they found a way around it. But they have to really want you to be able to do that. And there was a legal way around it for me, but in a lot of countries there isn't, So, for example, in Middle East, if you don't have a degree in the subject, you can't teach that subject. So it doesn't matter. You can say, I've got 25 years of teaching physics. If your degree is not in science or physics, they can't employ you. They can't get the permit. So, just be a little bit open-minded as to what the effects might be, rather than getting angry, and then just move forward and say, well, where can I go? Okay. So these are the things that you really need to think about for successful recruitment. Okay, well-prepared application. I won't talk too much about it because if you join my group, there's a whole session recorded on there, so you can just watch that and learn. Most important, I think the most important here is open to location. People come on and they're like, I want to go to Bangkok. I'm choosing between Singapore and Ho Chi Minh City. And I'm like, no, you're not. I wanted to go to Tanzania. I still never got there. You'll go where the choices you'll have that are given to you. Okay. You have to be open to location. I never dreamed of going to Uganda, and I had the best time of my life. I never dreamed of going to Sudan, and I had the best time of my life. I didn't think of going to KL until I sat next to someone at an event. Okay, be open to what comes towards you, ask questions about it, make sure that it is a fit for you, but don't restrict yourself, because look, okay, There are 169 international schools in Thailand, and I can tell you not all of them are great. And there's about 200,000 teachers trying to get into Thailand. Okay? If you look across the world, there are literally thousands and thousands of opportunities out there for you. So don't restrict yourself by saying, I want to go there. So what? So you didn't get to Thailand and you got to Laos, go to Thailand on holiday. So you ended up in Azerbaijan. I know people are really happy in Azerbaijan. Okay, be open to location. I think that's really the most important advice I can give you out of anything. Recruitment platforms. Again, if you join my group, we've got a curated list in there. These are some of the recruitment platforms. TES, I highly recommend. It's free. Global Recruitment Collaborative, it was set up by a network of schools. It's free. You've got nothing to lose by joining these platforms. Okay, TES, you don't even have to put up a profile. You just have to say what you're searching for, and they will send you any adverts that come in the echelon. So if you're looking for a job as a middle school language teacher, go see what they have on TES. Tell TES that's what you're looking for, and they'll send you any new adverts. It's a winner. Recruitment companies, we're here. We know Teacher Horizons isn't a recruitment company. They're more a community, but they do specialize in recruitment as well. Lots of other ones. I highly recommend you, if you're looking at Latin America, don't bother with anybody else. Just go talk to Mark Webber. He knows the schools inside out. Search Associates. Some people love them. Some people hate them. If you're in the UK, they cannot charge you to join. So join while you're in the UK. It's illegal for them to charge people in the UK for recruitment services. So join them. For everybody else, I think it's $150. So again, just sort of depending who you are and what you're looking for and where you're looking, there are different agencies. There are more than this. There are smaller ones. Again, we've got a curated list in our group if you want to come over and grab that. Researching schools, so important. I really recommend these places. International School Community, you can join there. You get a few days free membership. If you want to add content about your school, you'll get more free membership. International School Review, take it with a massive pinch of salt. I know people who've had their careers trashed on there. So really do take it with a massive pinch of salt. Read between the lines. Ask yourself, is this an angry person? What is this? Okay, but you will glean information from there. Facebook groups are the bomb. You just go into international teachers groups and you say, I'm thinking of going here to this school, and people will go, okay, well, think about this or think about that, or DM me. The DM me is usually like, I've got something bad to tell you. Okay. School websites will give you information, how they're laid out, what they emphasize. Okay, somebody was asking me about inclusive schools, special needs. I said, look at these two websites. What's this school telling you versus what's this school telling you? She said, oh, right, yes. I was like, look at the website, it will. You can't see this at the bottom. I don't know why it's not come up, but I'll do it properly for when I send it on. It's what is it called? I think it's just called iamteachers.net. I will find it and I'll send it to Covey. International Schools Database is mainly for parents, but there's a lot of information on there about the schools. And this other one, they've got school profiles on there as well. So you can find information that way. I'm not going to dwell on this too much. So as I said, you can come on my group and you can find a whole video about that. But the two most important things, if I can just really focus you in on this. Number one, you do need to tailor it. It's highly, highly, highly competitive out there. Okay, if you're applying for International School Bangkok, guaranteed another 300 people are applying for that. If you don't tailor it to that school, you will just go in the round recycling basket. Okay, and the other thing is focus on effects. You can list all the things that you've done. It doesn't matter. I want to know how successful you've been in doing them. So if you implemented a reading program, what difference did that reading program make to student reading? Okay, turn it around. It's not what you did, it's what effect did it have? Okay, what effects do you have on learning? What effects do you have on the community? So those are the main points. These things are really important to dig into and to understand when you get to the point of offer. Okay, because people will look and they go, no, it's not enough money. Oh, it's Switzerland. The tax is really high. I can't go there. I don't have enough money. They have one of the best pensions in the world. Look at the whole package. Okay. Retirement benefits are huge. Germany, Switzerland, places like that, they have amazing retirement benefits. You can come to Bangkok and be on twice the salary, but you You need to look after your retirement, okay? Cost of living, there are all sorts of calculators. You need to think about you, yourself, your family, how much do you spend? You know, I'm a single person, I spend less than a 4-person family. You need to think about those kind of things, all right? Health insurance is a really important to ask what it covers. A lot of people get called down on health insurance. Look into it, ask to see the policy, ask to see what the policy covers, and don't sign up if you're not comfortable with the health insurance cover. Like, really don't. People will get into trouble about this, okay? And then you're moving on. These are the things that you've got to deal with as you move on. And as everybody said in the chat, the most important thing that you can move with is an open mindset, being prepared to adapt to your new experience. So now it just comes to what your priorities are. The chance of you getting everything on your list is about 0.0000%. You will meet the one person on my Facebook group who gets every job they ever apply for and negotiates all the best things and takes their 4 children with them and gets all their demands. I don't know. Maybe they're a supersonic physics teacher. I don't know. But generally speaking, if you're a primary school educator, if you're an English teacher, if you're a humanities teacher, you know, you can be at the top of your game. The person next to you might just be at that little bit more top. Okay, so you're going to have to decide at some point what's more important, where I live, the kind of school I work for, the savings potential, my own children's education. Like, what is my absolute priority? And that can be hard. You sometimes have to let go of things and you will surprise yourself where you might go. Okay, just be very, very clear. Don't try to get it all because you will drive yourself mad. And this is me. This is me last year in lovely Koh Lanta, where I like to go for New Year's. And if you want to keep in touch with me or connect with me, again, I will send all this information via Covey. These are the best ways to get hold of me. I do support people with application reviews, career and interview coaching, on top of all the voluntary stuff that's out there. So that's it from me. I hope that's been a little whistle-stop tour of what you have to think about when you're going into apply for an international school job.
Wow, thank you so much, Kirsten. First of all, like such high energy from you always. So I love that. It's so inspiring and so engaging. And I really hope that everyone found that valuable. I did. I've taught internationally for 7 years as well. I learned something new as well. So that was really great. Thank you so much for also, I know it was a very short time. You crammed a lot of information, a lot of important information in a short one. But of course, all of us here will have other opportunities to interact with Kirsten, like she shared her contact information. All right, moving on now to our panel discussion, which is the next thing on the agenda. And we have a really great panel with us today, panelists who've joined us who bring different perspectives and a lot of different like variety and backgrounds and experience in international education. I will let them introduce themselves one by one, but I just quickly wanted to show their names. It's Natasha Winnard. She's a consultant and trainer, and many other hats. Natasha, I know that you wear different roles, so I'll let you explain that. But I did notice that you're a trainer at PTC. I had a great time when I did a TTC training 2-3 years ago. One of the best trainings I've had. Dr. Liam Hammer is another one of our panelists. He's the head of school. Alex had mentioned about Liam to me a few months ago that they are already connected, and I've been thinking about him. We connected on LinkedIn, and it's great to have you, Liam, today as well. Edwin has been our Teacher Horizons ambassador. He's an international educator, I think, in a school in India, and he's contributed to one of our panelists before. So, Edwin, great to have you again. Thank you. And we'll just go one by one, have the panelists introduce themselves and start with questions. I'll start with one or two common, popular questions. And then you can actually, everyone here already can start writing questions in chat. We may not be able to get to all of them. We only have about 15 minutes for this, but I'll try my best to navigate through them, and Kristen will help with that as well. So, Natasha, if we can start with your introduction, please.
Okay, hi everybody. I'm speaking to you from the UK. I first went overseas when I was 27. I'd worked in the UK for 3 years. I was a geographer, so going overseas was part of my passion. I went to IS Manila. That was my first international teaching post. And over time, I transitioned from working as an IB AP grade 10 geography teacher. And over time, I transitioned into a sort of pastoral guidance college role. So I worked overseas for 25 years. I'm also a mum. I took my 3-month-old baby to Sudan, which is where I know Kirsten. And he has been educated overseas his whole life. He's just recently transitioned back to the UK for university. And as we mentioned, I'm a CTC trainer, so I train counsellors, school counsellors in mental health and wellbeing. Very, very keen to connect with you on LinkedIn, offer you the support that you may need. A wonderful 25 years working overseas, and now I'm working as an independent consultant, guiding globally mobile families. Okay, Liam, sorry, I went on a bit there.
Thank you, Natasha. Yes,
No
Liam, thank
problem.
you.
Okay, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. My name's Liam Hammer. I've also, similar to Natasha, I've been working overseas for 20-something years. I left my home country, Melbourne, in 1999. I've worked in Australia, Asia, Europe, and most recently I'm now in Africa. I started out as a teacher. In fact, originally I had no plan to become administration, and then just somehow I enjoyed it and worked at it and have moved my way up. Also have a family. I was watching some of these questions here asking about this and that. Can I move family? Yes, you can. Can I have a gap? Well, yes, you can, but it depends how big that gap is and what you've done in between. And really, everything depends. There's schools that will take all sorts of people in all sorts of ways. And, you know, I'm obviously here to help here. You can look me up on LinkedIn. I'm happy to chat. You can ask me for a job. Somebody already has, but I don't necessarily have lots of jobs, and I'm not looking for job applicants today, but you never know, right? And as Kirsten earlier said, it's about how much value you give other people that then promotes your own brand, and that's really helpful. But anyway, here I am, happy to help out, and thank you, Teach Horizons and Kavi, for having me.
Thank you so much, Liam. Edwin, do we have you here?
Yes, right here.
Great. Yes. Could you introduce yourself, please?
Yes, right away. My name is Edwin Maina. I'm a Kenyan. I've been in Mumbai, India for the last 1.5 years. I came in last year, and I'm teaching performing arts, drama, and I'm also the Teacher Horizons ambassador in my school. What motivated me to become an ambassador? No, to become international. I've taught in Africa, but I felt I wanted to challenge myself and just move out of my comfort zone, and I did that. And I'm loving it. I've become, within the last 1.5 years, I've become a great leader. So that's a step up. Currently organizing a trip for my grade and doing a lot of things. And as Natasha said, I'm very passionate about mentoring and counseling and so on, in addition to teaching. So I'm interested in that. So I'll be happy to answer any questions, especially for people who are stepping out for the first time. There are all those questions. But having said that, Teacher Horizon, Kavi, Camille, and the team there, I mean, you are great, you guys, when you got me here, and I've never said thank you enough. So, yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Edwin. Really appreciate it. Glad to hear that. Wow, what a panel. So we have to take advantage of this and ask all the questions that we have today. So please start writing your questions on the chat. And I also want to say thank you to the panelists, because I noticed that you guys already answered some questions on chat. It's amazing to see that you're already getting involved so much and contributing. So thank you. So I'm going to start with a couple of questions that we believe would be helpful for everyone, and then we will look at some questions from the chat. So I think this question, probably we can start with Liam, but I'll say the question first, and and other panelists can join in later too. And Kristen, you can help me with navigating this as well. So one of the questions is and we talked about this, but we want to hear your perspective, maybe let's say a recruiter's perspective or a head of school's perspective. So what qualities or skills do international schools typically look for in educators? And let's think of the current situation. And Liam, we can start with you. Thank you.
Thanks. I think Kirsten talked about some of these qualities already, about being open-minded, about being flexible, about being a team player. Some of the other things, right? A pet peeve I learned many years ago when recruiting was people would say, I want to come and learn, meaning they weren't really qualified for the job they'd applied for. Perhaps they were a science teacher, but they want to become a counselor. I want to learn. And I was working at schools and go, well, hang on, no, our parents are paying good fees. We don't want to be your learning playground. You need to have the skills and qualities already. But if you're not IB and you want to get into IB, look it up. Talk about inquiry. Talk about conceptual-based curriculums. You can learn what you need to know, self-learn, but we're looking for people that are already skilled, already competent, already experienced. All of you are, but you just need to explain how that matches the school that you're coming to. So that's a really important one. Don't treat it like I just want to. I mean, we have a phrase here, right? We talk about safari teachers, people that want to do 1 year or 2 years, go on a safari and then run away. Honestly, we don't really want those type of teachers. We want people that want to teach and be really good at the job, and then you can do everything else secondary.
Great. Thank you so much, Liam. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Natasha or Edwin, would you like to add to this, if anything?
Absolutely.
No, okay.
Okay, go on, Natasha.
Okay, a moment.
After
Carry
you.
on.
After you. Come on.
Natasha, you can go ahead first.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry,
I think there was a delay.
Sorry, I was answering some questions in the chat, so I didn't follow that. Sorry. Can you,
Oh, that's totally fine. No, that's okay, because there's actually another question that's really good for Natasha. So Edwin, you can do your piece, your addition, and then we'll move on. Thank you.
Okay, yes. I think every school, as in every institution, is looking for what value you can bring to the school or to the institution, what value you can add. Is it your sense of adventure? Is it your outlook to life? Is it your subject specialism and so on and so forth? So I think try to brand yourself around what you can bring that is unique to you as a person and with your experience and so on. And I think that's one of the main things. Of course, you'll have all the qualifications and everything, but what extra thing can you bring to the table?
Great. Thank you so much. And Natasha, yeah, I see you did answer to it on chat, but I think it'll be great for everyone to hear you because some people might have missed it because chat's like very crazy right now. So if you don't mind, it's a really good question. How did you cope with moving internationally with such a young child?
Okay, so I'm just actually mid-writing this, but I will share. When I went overseas, I mean, I'd been overseas and I went back to the UK to have my child. And I always remember my mum saying to me as I gave birth, she said, you've got absolutely no idea how to be a mother, and you've got absolutely no idea to be a mother overseas. You need to hit the books. And it was the best advice I'd ever been given, because I started reading books about raising globally mobile children. And, you know, it was the start of that journey where you've got to inform yourself. You know, you cannot move children around the world unless you've got some sense of what you're doing. And, you know, it's constantly about learning. Also, one of the things my mum said to me is observe people, other parents who seem to know what they're doing, and watch what they're doing. And if you meet children that are particularly well behaved, or, you know, inspire you or have incredible creativity, whatever it is that you're looking for in your children, watch what they're doing and learn from them. And I think that's key when you're moving overseas. You've got this wealth of parenting styles around you. You've also got massive intergenerational support. You know, in the communities that we work in, you've got parents of all ages, you've often got extended families. Learn from those communities and be willing to ask for help. You know, parenting is tough wherever you are. If you're not willing to ask for help, you're going to struggle.
Right. Thank you so much. There is another question in chat, and I think anyone can jump on this one. Maybe Kristen, if you have any idea, it's an interesting one. Is the area of coaching, either instructional or well-being support, available? Are there any job opportunities in this area? I'm assuming in international schools.
So some of the bigger schools in particular will have instructional coaches. There tends to be a lot of literacy coaches in particular, but sometimes just academic coach or instructional coach. I was talking to somebody today because they're applying for a job as an ES instructional coach, early years instructional coach at KAUST. So those jobs do come up. Well-being, less so. Some schools like UWC Phuket have a well-being mindfulness director. It's less a role and more often spread around or given as a stipend or spread around amongst teachers. So, but the coaching roles are there if you have coaching experience. It would be difficult to get without coaching experience because it's a very competitive role. There aren't so many of them.
Great, thank you so much. There's another question, and this one is specifically for Edwin, and we can connect it to a bigger question to Edwin. So it says, how long had you been working in your own home country before you moved abroad? And maybe we can also connect it to your experience of trying to get starting working in an international school, and if you faced any challenges.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Kavi. I've not always been a teacher. I did a Bachelor of Arts and went into other areas. I'm a very passionate writer. I worked as an editor for an educational magazine. I worked as a corporate trainer. I worked as so many different things. I started my own business, and then I realized that's not for me, and I wanted to go back to the classroom and sort of have even a stable kind of income. So I went back, I went back to school and did my postgraduate diploma in education and did my master's in educational management. And then started now getting into international schools. My first international schools were really small schools, and my pay was very small to start with, and I gained experience. And one of the things I kept on doing was networking, and I kept on, like looking up to the people who are in international schools. They would mentor me. I would ask them questions. I would network with them and everything. And then slowly by slowly, I got experience because I got exposure. So networking is something that you can't do without. You have to be a bit bold in reaching out to people and so on. And then I sort of now started branding myself as, look, I was a teacher of English language, but I thought that every position that I thought when I wanted to work outside my country said, look, we want native English speakers. So I found that was a wall. How can I go around that? And I decided to brand myself again as a teacher of drama, performing arts. Did a few courses there, and that's how I ended up now where I am, because I thought this is a challenge. How do I go around about it? So the thing is, keep talking to people, keep updating your skills, don't give up, keep networking, keep reaching out to people. LinkedIn is there, Facebook is there, and so on. Yes, so that's about getting the job. Challenges, Kavi, there are many. A dime a dozen. New language, India, new culture, you get homesick, new food, and so on. I was fortunate in the sense that we have a WhatsApp group with about 45 teachers from Kenya, India, and the number is growing for some reason. So I plugged into that. I connected with people through LinkedIn. I would just go and chat with them. And I got a very soft landing when I came, and I came to a very good community. You also have to be very optimistic and open-minded to learning from people. I found Indians who had been to Kenya, some who had been born there, came back, and so on. So I have a community now. I'm happy.
Great, thank you so much, Edwin, for the detailed answer and sharing all the different aspects. So there is a question that Liam did answer to, but I think if we can come back to you, Liam, and elaborate on it a little bit, I'm going to connect it to maybe sometimes there's a misconception from recruitment side about age of the educator. And the question here is, what is the best age limit for one who wants to move abroad and still be relevant, whatever the interpretation of relevant there is? So if you could.
Well, honestly, yeah. Oh, go, Kirsten.
I was just going to say, I just spoke to Mark Webber recently, and he just placed somebody who was 73 in Latin America. So a lot of it is about location. And there's still teachers out there teaching and really enjoying life way older.
Absolutely. I was going to say similar. It's about mindset, right? In some countries, there are limits. For instance, Indonesia, you cannot get a visa once you're 58 or older, right? Scary stuff. Some countries have visa limits, some don't. Just be open-minded about where you might go. For schools, from a school's perspective, a good school should want a range of ages. Schools want diverse staff. So diversity can be gender, diversity can be countries you come from. Diversity can mean, BIPOC educators and other educators and English educators, but diversity also in ages. You don't want a school that's full of 23-year-old teachers from UK, right? You don't want a school that's full of 60 or 70-year-old teachers. Why haven't they moved on? You want a school that's got a few teachers in each age group. So as an older teacher, somebody said, I'm 49, is that too old? Absolutely not. If you're 60, 65, am I too old? For some countries, yes. For some countries, no. So go for it. And listen to those, particularly if you're with Search or you're talking to a Teacher Horizons person or you're talking to someone else, if they tell you you're too old for a particular country or school, please listen to them. Don't think they're trying to lie to you and they don't like you and no. Listen to them. Don't waste your time with schools or countries where you are too old.
Great. Thank you so much, Liam. So there is another question which I feel like I can answer, and then Liam has given the school's perspective, which I appreciate. So the question was, what happens if you're registered in many different recruitment platforms? Do you mention this in your application? Which one to choose to mention? Does it really matter? Short answer, it doesn't matter. But as you know, as representing Teacher Horizons myself, we don't say you should just sign up for us or just for tests or just one. As a teacher, keep all your options open. Like I signed up to different agencies as well. What I can say is Teacher Horizons is free. I think there's a couple others that are free. Search is not free. So the ones that are free, they're easy, straightforward. And with Teacher Horizons, you can sign up easily. The advisors even interview you and learn about your motivations and your priorities that Kristen talked about before. So I think those are some things that I really like and appreciate that we do in Teacher Horizons because we care about the human element. Like, what are you looking for? What's your story? What's your journey? So, but otherwise, yes, sign up to all of them. And from school's perspective, you don't need to tell them who you signed up to. They're already going to know, and they just figure it out with the agency if they have a relationship with them. Okay, let's see about other questions. There is one question, so we're kind of getting to the end of the time as well. I know it's very short. There is one question that I do want to ask, but I'm looking at the chat first. Yeah, I'll keep scrolling. There's a lot of them. But before we get to one of the chat ones, I need some more time to look at them. You know, we talked about challenges, we talked about some logistical things or requirements and this and that. I think it's important to talk about the positive and how rewarding of an experience it can be. And I was wondering if we can talk a little bit about what has been the most rewarding aspect of your international education experience. And Natasha, maybe we can start with you on this one.
Sorry, can you repeat again?
Yeah, what has been the most rewarding aspect of your international education experience? And I know it's probably a hard one for you with the huge experience you have, but please.
I think it's probably rich learning, rich personal and rich professional learning. I went into international education with a growth mindset, and we often talk about a growth mindset with our students, but do we actually live that as professionals? And I think if you go into international teaching with that growth mindset, then you will learn from and with a phenomenally talented group of people. So for me, the highlight has been rich learning. And at every stage, I have learned something about myself, about teaching, what works, what doesn't work. And you've got to be willing to reflect. You've got to be willing to say, going forward, what have I got to change? What have I got to modify? I've got to be a little bit flexible here. So yeah, I mean, if you're really open to learning, and I'm not sure that all educators are, that is the way forward.
Great. Thank you so much, Natasha. Edwin or Kristen or Liam would like to add to that most rewarding aspect.
I would like to say, actually, it's the community. It's the community aspect. It's the kids. You've got many kids that are having, difficulties struggling with the country, or you've got, kids that have other issues, and you're there to support them, but also you're part of a community, school community, wider community, I just had the most amazing experiences with volunteering in the Sudan, volunteering in Malaysia, over and above schools with refugees, with local teachers. Like, it's so much more than just the school.
And I think,
Great.
can I
Thank
just
you.
jump in there? I think that's a really, really important point that Kirsten's just made. You know, when you go overseas, you've got to be careful that your life isn't just work. It's hard to sometimes get a professional, personal balance. And if you reach out for volunteering, if you connect with people that perhaps are different from you outside of the school community, you know, open yourself to people from different socioeconomic groups, different cultures, different religions, and that will help with that work-life balance. Because in some international schools, you know, it can feel a bit like a goldfish bowl, and that can be tough on you.
Yeah, that's true.
Great. Thank you.
Natasha, I agree fully. And you have to be careful not to be just in the bubble of your fellow foreign teachers. You need to plug in and see what's happening locally.
Yeah.
I actually challenged myself to learn Hindi, which I'm doing. I take classes 2 hours every week.
Kaise ho, Edwin?
Yeah, so yes, I'm doing that. And the reason I did this was my students would keep speaking Hindi in class at some points when they want to be a bit cheeky. And I wanted to hear what they're saying. But look, I got interested and I'm learning the script. I know I can find my way around the taxi guys and when I go to the market and so on. So it really opens up your world. And you actually learn that the world is bigger than your country. And you start now thinking bigger, of course, than you were doing before. So it's really being in a bigger pool. You may be a smaller fish, but in a bigger pool. And it's a good challenge and it's an area for growth, honestly. I think everyone who calls themselves an international teacher should work outside their country, at least in one other country.
Great. Thank you so much, Edwin. So I am looking at the time. And first of all, thank you again to the panelists for answering on chat. I haven't had a panel who was so engaged and so like highly contributive and so productive, even answering on chat. This is fantastic. Thank you so much. So we don't even have to touch upon some of those questions and really good questions as well. There's a couple different ones, and one of them was addressed towards Liam, and I think these are short ones, and so we can end with this. Actually, there's one more thing Kirsten mentioned earlier. We'll end with that. So another 2-3 minutes. Liam, someone asked, what do you consider long CV? I think that should be a simple one, but still an important one.
Please, please, please keep it to 2 pages. If you write 4 pages, I'm honestly not going to read it. And in most cases, I'll throw it in the bin because you didn't follow the instructions on the ad. If you can't follow instructions, you can't. My last principal job advertised in my school, we had 272 applicants, right? I was trying to read them all. If you can't follow the instructions, then we don't want you as a teacher. So 2 pages minimum. I've seen 1-page CVs that are actually really good. Right, the CV is only the first step to the recruitment process. You still have the interview. Some schools will still do demo lessons. Your references really count. Don't give me a reference letter that somebody wrote that you've read. I don't read them. I only read confidential references, right? But 2 pages plus. Can't say that enough.
Great. Thank you so much, Liam. That was very clear. And yeah, that's super appreciated. Makes a lot of sense. And Kirsten, so just as a last, to end the panel discussion, do you remember how we said something about focusing on the current reality? What I usually do is I say any final tips, final thoughts. Maybe we can connect those two.
Right now, we know that this sector is changing. It's been changing since COVID. There's a lot of changes happening. So when you're thinking of people, this is for the panelists, when you're thinking of people applying into the context that is now, that is not the context of 25 years ago when I started, what would be your greatest words of advice and wisdom to them?
Great question. Maybe, yeah, Natasha, could we start with you?
Sorry, I was looking at the chat again. Sorry.
Thank you. No, we appreciate that, and we can repeat that. Kristen?
Sorry.
It's just thinking of the context now, the way the sector is now. What would be your, sterling gold nugget of advice to people who are applying now? Like, what should they think about? What should they include? Like, What should they be prepared for? How should they approach it?
I think you've always got to have a plan B, and even more so today. Think through, if this doesn't pan out the way I hope, have I thought through the plan B? What does that look like? What does that look like as far as an education for my children? What does that look like possibly for a job for me? Because, my sense is there's quite a lot of uncertainty in a lot of school environments. So that would be my advice, especially if you've got older children. I've often worked with 14 to 18-year-olds, and, that's a tough age group. And if they're changing constantly and their education is being challenged, it's tough. So yeah, think through your plan B. If you're happy with your plan B, go forward. If you're not, then think again.
Thank you.
I'll just jump in with go ahead, Liam. Go.
I was going to say, my piece of advice, and this might sound, I don't mean to sound condescending, but you're not in Kansas anymore, Dorothy. And really what you need to understand is that international schools vary. There is no teacher union overseas. In many cases, there are no protections. In many cases, there's lots of protections. And every school is not the same, right? Somebody in the chat before was saying, oh, some schools do blah, 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 blah. Yes, they do. I've seen some schools have been terrible, and I've seen some schools have been great, and I've seen some schools in between. Every school's different. Every salary or payments or cost of living is different. And you just need to kind of figure that out, right? And don't expect that things will happen like this, because that's how they happen in Australia or UK or Kenya or wherever you come from, okay? So be really careful, but also be open-minded about it all.
Great, thank you so much. Edwin, we'll end with you.
I think I'm thinking of tech, Kavi. Now the world is going tech, AI, and many other things. See how you can upgrade your skills in those areas and so on. And schools will be interested. So that's something to keep challenging yourself. Number two, just be a constant learner. I think it's who said that? Is it Cassie who said that? Or I think, yeah, growth mindsets. You're not just in the same place. We keep doing PDs every year. Make sure I do at least one PD. Some of these you pay for yourself, short courses and so on and so forth. So you can't just rest on your laurels and think jobs will come to you. You have, even when you get that job, you have to keep updating your skills. So remaining relevant by continuous improvements.
Can I just say one last thing to finish up of all of that?
Yes,
and that is,
yes.
I just want to say this really from the bottom of my heart, because I see so many people now, and I'm on all sorts of chats that are happening in the UK and the USA. Do not do this if you're looking to escape. Okay? It is not an escape route. It is not necessarily going to be easier, better, more financially rewarding. It will be different. It will be amazing. It will be challenging. You will have experiences beyond your wildest dreams. But we're seeing too many people coming out and then after 6 months going, oh no, it's too hard. That's not fair. Okay, that's not fair. Don't do it unless you're sure that you have the character to see it through, because you've got colleagues, you've got kids, and quitting halfway through the year lets everybody down. So please consider what you're doing very carefully. It all sounds wonderful, and it is wonderful, but it's also hard work. I'm standing here talking to you. It's nearly midnight, and I do this because I care. Okay, so care about yourself, but care about others too, and really consider the steps that you're taking. Enough from me.
I completely agree with that, Kirsten. Really great nugget, golden nugget to end the panel discussion with. And thank you so much to our panelists, Natasha, Dr. Liam, and Edwin. Really great answers, insights. It was very valuable for all of us. And thank you for being so active on chat. Again, I know it was a short time, but I hope people could take things back from this. So really appreciate it. At this point, so the time for the webinar was actually 1 hour. I didn't want to cut short the sections until now because they were very important. So I'm going to do something different now. I'm going to make the last section optional. A lot of our community members appreciate it. It's actually the breakout rooms. But before that, panelists, I do understand and appreciate that you might be busy. So feel free to please leave the Zoom room and we can connect later for sure. And thank you again. If you do want to stick around, you're welcome to for the breakout rooms. But thank you so much.
Thank you. I've got to go. Absolute pleasure, everybody. Good luck. Join the Facebook groups and we can all connect there.
Thank you, Liam. All right. So in
Thank
terms
you.
of
Thank you,
breakout
everybody.
rooms, yeah, thank you, Edwin.
It's 10 o'clock.
So
It's my bedtime. I have to go.
yes, yeah,
Thank
sounds
you.
good.